Welcome to long-form content of Tech Bytes and News. This is a compilation on latest news and articles featured on Hacker News. You can find the original links of articles in the description. Please like and subscribe to support future content. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating discussion about the Rock compiler's ambitious rewrite from Rust to Zig. It's a big move, and there's a lot to unpack. Exciting stuff!
Absolutely. I'm particularly intrigued by the decision to rewrite rather than incrementally improve. It seems like a huge undertaking, especially for a compiler. What were the primary drivers behind this decision?
Yeah, it's a massive project, but the core reason boils down to this. They were already planning to rewrite nearly every component of the 300,000-line Rust compiler anyway, for various reasons. Things like improving error tolerance in the parser, upgrading the formatter, and overhauling the canonicalization process. It was a cascade of necessary changes.
I see. So it wasn't just a whim. It was a matter of addressing accumulated technical debt and architectural limitations. But why Zig? Rust has a strong reputation for compiler development.
That's a great question. While Rust's memory safety is a huge plus, in this specific case, it wasn't the deciding factor. The main reason is compile times. Rust's compile times, especially for a project of this scale, were a major bottleneck, impacting both productivity and developer morale. Zig, on the other hand, boasts significantly faster compile times.
That makes sense. A faster feedback loop is invaluable during development. It's not just about the total time, it's about the iterative process. But beyond speed, were there other factors influencing the choice of Zig?
Absolutely. Zig's approach to memory management, with its explicit allocator passing, aligns well with Rock's existing practices. Plus, Zig offers features like multi-array list and better support for structive arrays programming, which are beneficial for performance optimization. And Zig's direct LLVM bitcode generation is a huge advantage for simplifying upgrades.
Interesting. So it's not just about speed, it's also about a better fit for the specific needs of the Rock compiler's architecture and workflow. It sounds like a strategic decision based on a careful evaluation of trade-offs.
Precisely. And let's not forget the goals for the rewrite. They aim to release this Zig-based compiler as Rock 0.1.0, the first numbered release. This means incorporating substantial language design changes, which makes a clean rewrite more efficient than trying to retrofit them into the existing codebase.
Right, a fresh start allows for a more streamlined implementation of these new features. It's a bold strategy, but it seems well justified given the circumstances. Plus to get. What about the challenges? Rewriting a compiler is inherently risky.
You're right, it's risky. But they're mitigating that risk by prioritizing reliability and correctness. They plan to incorporate fuzzing early in the development process, document as they go, and avoid potentially error-prone shortcuts like unwrap. They're also prioritizing code clarity and debuggability over short-term performance gains.
That's a smart approach. Focusing on a solid foundation first, then optimizing later, is often the best strategy for a large-scale project like this. It's exciting to see this project unfold. The potential benefits of faster compile times and a cleaner codebase are significant.
Indeed. It's a testament to the team's commitment to improving Rock and their willingness to embrace a significant challenge. This is a great example of how careful planning and a strategic approach can transform a seemingly daunting task into an exciting opportunity. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of compiler rewrites. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a critical issue highlighted by CNN Business: the severe shortage of air traffic controllers in the U.S. It's a problem that's impacting safety, efficiency, and the mental well-being of those who keep our skies safe. Let's get started.
Absolutely. The headline itself is alarming. America desperately needs more controllers, but the article points to significant hurdles in recruitment and retention. What are the main factors contributing to this crisis?
Right. It's a multifaceted problem. First, the job is incredibly demanding. Controllers work long hours, often 6 days a week, under immense pressure. The stress is enormous, leading to high attrition rates. Almost half of new hires leave within 3 years. Then there's the rigorous hiring process itself. Aptitude tests, medical and psychological screenings, security clearances, and extensive training all contribute to a long and difficult pipeline.
So it's not just a matter of attracting applicants, but also keeping them? That's a double whammy. The article mentions the recent fatal plane crash near Washington, D.C. Did that incident highlight the shortage in any way?
Precisely. The crash brought the issue to the forefront. While the investigation is ongoing, it was revealed that one controller was handling both local air traffic and helicopter traffic. Essentially, 2 jobs. This situation, while not definitively linked to the crash, certainly underscores the strain on the system caused by understaffing. It's a complex situation, you know?
The article also mentions President Trump's claims that diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, policies are to blame. What's your take on that?
That's a highly contentious claim, and the article directly refutes it. The evidence suggests that DEI initiatives did not lower hiring standards. The rigorous selection process remained unchanged, regardless of the applicant's background. Trump's statement seems to be a politically motivated distraction from the real issues at hand.
I see. So the problem isn't about lowering standards, but about the overall difficulty and stress of the job itself, leading to high burnout and attrition. The article also highlights the issue of mental health. How does that play into the shortage?
That's a crucial point. The intense pressure and long hours take a significant toll on controllers' mental health. The FAA's policies regarding mental health medications are also problematic. Controllers who need medication for conditions unrelated to their work can face job loss, creating a chilling effect on seeking help. This needs to change. It's a huge barrier to retention.
It sounds like a systemic problem requiring a multi-pronged approach. Increased hiring is essential, but so is addressing the working conditions, improving mental health support, and perhaps even reevaluating the compensation and benefits package to make the profession more attractive. What's the outlook, according to the article?
Even with increased hiring, the article suggests it could take 8 to 9 years to reach full staffing levels. That's a long time, and the current situation is unsustainable. The FAA needs to act decisively and comprehensively to address this crisis before it leads to more serious consequences. It's not just about numbers, it's about creating a supportive and sustainable work environment for these essential professionals. It's a really serious issue.
Absolutely. Thanks for breaking down this important story for us. It's a complex issue with far-reaching implications. We need to keep a close eye on how the FAA addresses this.
You're welcome. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to Tech Bytes and News. We'll be back tomorrow with more of the latest tech and business news. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into the GNU Make Standard Library, or GMSL. It's a powerful tool for anyone working with GNU Make, offering a wealth of functions for manipulating lists, strings, integers, and even sets. Exciting stuff.
I've heard whispers of this library, but I'm not entirely sure what it brings to the table. What's the core functionality?
At its heart, GMSL provides a set of functions implemented using native GNU Make, giving you tools you wouldn't normally have. Think list and string manipulation. First, last, rest, chop. All the essentials for data wrangling. It also handles integer arithmetic, associative arrays, stacks, and even includes debugging facilities. All under the permissive BSD license.
So it's like a mini programming language within Make? That's pretty neat. How do I use it?
Super easy. You just include the GMSL file in your Makefile. It automatically includes GMSL as well. To ensure compatibility, there's a GMSL_compatible function to check your version against the current one, which is 123. There's even a test suite included. Just run make-fgmsl tests.
Awesome. The documentation mentions logical operators. What are those about?
Yeah, GMSL defines Boolean values, $true and $false, and provides standard logical operators, not, and, or, XOR, NAND, NOR, and XNOR. Pretty standard Boolean algebra, but directly within your Makefiles.
That's incredibly useful for conditional logic. What about the list manipulation functions? You mentioned some already, but are there any more advanced ones?
Absolutely. Beyond first, last, rest, and chop, there's map for applying a function to each element of a list, pair map for applying a function to pairs of elements from two lists, and fold for accumulating results iteratively. It also has functions for comparing lists, leq, lne, reversing them, reverse, deduplicating, unique, and getting their length, length.
Impressive. And what about string manipulation? I often find myself needing to do string operations in my makefiles.
GMSL has you covered there too. It offers string comparison, CQ, SNE, length calculation, strlen, substring extraction, substr, splitting strings into lists, split, merging lists into strings, merge, character translation, trail, and case conversion, UCLC. Very comprehensive.
Wait, sets? I didn't expect that. How does that work in Make?
Sets are represented as sorted, deduplicated lists. GMSL provides functions for creating sets, set create, inserting and removing elements, set insert, set remove, checking membership, set is member, set is not member, performing set operations like union and intersection, setunion, set intersection, and checking for subsets and equality, set a subset, set underscore equal.
This is getting really interesting. I'm particularly intrigued by the integer arithmetic functions. How does that work, given Make's limitations?
Integers are represented as lists of x characters. For example, 4 is represented as XXXX. The library provides functions for encoding and decoding integers, intencode, intdecode, and then parallel functions for arithmetic operations on both the encoded and decoded forms. There are functions for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulo, finding the maximum and minimum, and comparison operations. It even has increment, decrement, doubling, and halving functions. The encoded versions are generally faster for complex calculations.
That's clever. So it handles the integer representation internally, hiding the complexity from the user. What about associative arrays and stacks?
Associative arrays are implemented using set, get, keys, and defined functions. Stacks are implemented using push, pop, peek, and depth functions. They're very straightforward to use, offering a convenient way to manage data within your makefiles.
And what about debugging? Makefiles can be notoriously difficult to debug.
GMSL provides GMSL print% and GMSL echo-% for printing variable values, an assert function for runtime checks, and assert exists for checking file existence. Plus, you can control warning and error reporting through environment variables like GMSLNOWARNINGS, GMSLNO errors, and enable function tracing with GMSLTRACE. It's a complete package.
This is a truly impressive library. It seems to address many of the limitations of standard GNU Make. I'm definitely going to give it a try.
I highly recommend it. It's a game changer for anyone serious about writing robust and maintainable makefiles. And remember, it's all under the BSD license, so you're free to use it in any project. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a really neat method for calculating language model tokens. It's all about accurately estimating the cost and feasibility of processing text with large language models. Exciting stuff!
Absolutely. I've been wrestling with token counts myself. The rough estimate of dividing character count by 4 is, as the article points out, incredibly rough. So, what's the better approach?
Precisely. That's where this Jupyter Notebook comes in. It's a fantastic resource. It lets you specify the text, be it a string, a file, or even a whole folder, and then you select the specific language model you're using. Hugging Face or OpenAI, it handles them both.
That's clever. So, no more guesswork based on character counts? This sounds much more accurate, but how does it handle different models? They all have different tokenization schemes, right?
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. You explicitly choose the model, user/model_name for Hugging Face, or just the model name for OpenAI. The notebook uses the appropriate tokenizer for that specific model, ensuring accuracy. No more approximations.
I see. And the dependencies? How do you get it up and running?
Simple. It uses UV Sync to install everything. It's a really streamlined process. Once that's done, you just open the notebook, specify your input and model, and run the cells. The results are clearly displayed, showing the token count for your input. Super straightforward.
This whole process, it runs locally, right? No external API calls or anything?
That's right. It's all local processing. This is a huge advantage. No costs, no reliance on external services, and importantly, enhanced security, because your data stays on your machine. Privacy and efficiency combined.
That's a significant advantage, especially when dealing with sensitive data. So essentially, this notebook provides a secure, accurate, and cost-effective way to determine the token count for any string, regardless of the language model used. Brilliant!
Precisely. It's a game changer for anyone working with language models. It takes the guesswork out of token counting, allowing for better cost estimation and more efficient text processing. Highly recommend checking it out.
Definitely adding this to my toolkit. Thanks for highlighting this.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time with more exciting tech updates. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into AmSheets, a fascinating concept that reimagines spreadsheets for scenario exploration. It's all about making what-if analysis significantly easier and more intuitive.
I'm intrigued. Traditional spreadsheets are great, but juggling multiple scenarios can be a real headache. How does AmSheets solve this?
Exactly. The core innovation is the AMB value. Instead of a single value in a cell, you can have multiple values, representing different possibilities. Think of planning a move. You could have multiple car prices and apartment costs all in one cell. Amazing, right?
So instead of creating multiple columns for each scenario, you just put all the possibilities in one cell? That sounds incredibly space-saving.
Precisely. And the magic is that standard spreadsheet formulas work seamlessly with these AMB values. If you have a standard formula, it will calculate the sum for each possible combination of values in your AMB cells, giving you all the possible outcomes at once.
That's mind-blowing. So if I have 3 AMB values, each with 2 options, the spreadsheet automatically calculates all 8 possible scenarios? No more manual entry of every single combination?
You got it. It automatically computes all combinations. The article highlights the limitations of existing methods like toggling, seeing only one scenario at a time, and restructuring, adding endless columns. AmSheets elegantly bypasses these limitations.
But what about visualization? With many AMB values, you could end up with a huge number of scenarios. How do you make sense of it all?
That's a great point. And the article acknowledges this as a challenge. For simple cases, a table works. But for higher dimensions, more sophisticated visualization techniques are needed. They mention this as an area of ongoing research.
I see. And how does this compare to Excel's what-if analysis? Isn't that supposed to handle multiple scenarios?
Excel's what-if analysis is clunky. It's not integrated into the spreadsheet. You have to switch to a separate mode. AmSheets, on the other hand, is completely integrated. Plus, Excel requires manual entry of each scenario, while AmSheets automatically generates all combinations. It's a much more elegant and efficient approach.
So AmSheets is essentially automating the tedious parts of scenario planning, allowing for a more fluid and intuitive exploration of possibilities. Brilliant.
Exactly. It's a powerful concept with the potential to revolutionize how we approach decision-making involving multiple variables. The authors are exploring extensions like filtering large possibility spaces and handling continuous distributions, which would make it even more versatile.
This is truly exciting. It seems like AmSheets could be applied to a wide range of fields, from financial modeling to game theory. I'm eager to see how this project develops.
Absolutely. The possibilities are vast. And that's a wrap for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you found this discussion as insightful as we did. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into a blog post titled, "I'm Done with Ubuntu." A pretty strong statement, wouldn't you say? It's a compelling read.
Absolutely. The author, a longtime Ubuntu user, details a significant shift in their opinion. It seems the breaking point was a series of frustrating upgrade experiences. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. The core issue revolves around Ubuntu's upgrade process. The author consistently experienced problems, ranging from minor visual glitches to complete system failures. One particularly disastrous upgrade on their mother's laptop resulted in a completely unusable system, leading to a Windows installation. That's a pretty strong reaction.
Yeah, that's a pretty dramatic outcome. It highlights the potential for significant disruption. And it wasn't an isolated incident. Another family member faced similar issues after an upgrade, resulting in broken Firefox shortcuts and other UI problems. This isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a major usability issue.
Exactly. The author points a finger directly at snaps as a major contributor to these problems. They argue that the auto-updating nature of snaps, while beneficial for security, is detrimental to user control and can lead to unexpected and disruptive changes. The author cites an instance where a colleague's GNOME desktop environment, now a snap, became unstable, leading to a complete loss of productivity while troubleshooting.
That's a powerful example. It underscores the potential cost of these seemingly minor software updates. A whole day of developer time wasted because of a buggy snap update? That's unacceptable. The author contrasts this negative experience with Flatpak, which they see as a better alternative.
Right. The author praises Flatpak for its optional updates and overall better user experience. They highlight the key difference. Flatpak doesn't force changes on users. It gives them control. This is a crucial point, highlighting the importance of user agency in software management.
It's a matter of trust, isn't it? Users need to trust that their system won't unexpectedly break after an update. The author's experience suggests that trust has been eroded in the case of Ubuntu. They've switched to Fedora, which seems to offer a more stable and predictable experience.
Indeed. The author concludes by expressing hope that Canonical will reconsider its approach to snaps. It's a cautionary tale for other distributions, emphasizing the importance of balancing security updates with user experience and control. A very thought-provoking piece.
Absolutely. It's a valuable perspective for anyone considering Ubuntu or any distribution that relies heavily on auto-updating package managers. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow with more tech news and analysis. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible life of Nellie Bly, a pioneering journalist whose adventures and exposés continue to inspire. Get ready, folks, because this is one amazing story.
I'm already hooked. So, what makes Nellie Bly so significant? Was it just the around-the-world trip?
Oh, the trip was amazing. A real-life race against Phileas Fogg. But it's only part of the picture. Nellie Bly, whose real name was Elizabeth Jane Cochran, was a trailblazer. She started by challenging a sexist newspaper column, writing a fiery response under a pseudonym. That's guts!
Wow, what a start. So she basically forced her way into journalism?
Exactly. Her writing was so powerful, the editor of the Pittsburgh Dispatch sought her out. She quickly became known for her investigative pieces, focusing on the lives of working women. But she wasn't afraid to tackle bigger issues. She even went to Mexico as a foreign correspondent, reporting on the Diaz dictatorship, and facing arrest for her reporting.
Incredible! And then there's the asylum exposé, right? That's the one everyone talks about. How did she manage that?
That's where her true courage shines. She faked insanity to get admitted to the women's lunatic asylum on Blackwell's Island. She spent 10 days undercover, witnessing horrific conditions, and then wrote a searing exposé, 10 days in a madhouse. It caused a national sensation and led to real reforms.
Unbelievable. I mean, the sheer audacity. But wasn't that kind of ethically questionable, even for the time? I mean, she essentially deceived people to get her story.
That's a valid point. It's a complex ethical question, even today. But you have to consider the context. She was exposing systemic abuse and neglect, and traditional reporting methods weren't working. Her methods were controversial, but the impact was undeniable. The end justified the means, in a way.
I see. So after the asylum, it was the famous around the world trip? That must have been a logistical nightmare.
It was. She beat Jules Verne's fictional record, circling the globe in 72 days. The New York World ran a guessing contest about her arrival time, which really boosted the story's popularity. She traveled alone for most of the journey, facing all sorts of challenges and adventures. It was a massive undertaking.
And then, after all that, she became a businesswoman? That's a pretty big shift.
Yes, quite a pivot. She married a wealthy manufacturer, Robert Seaman, and after his death, she took over his company, Ironclad Manufacturing. She even held patents for a milk can and a stacking garbage can. A true Renaissance woman. Unfortunately, the company eventually went bankrupt due to mismanagement and embezzlement.
So a fascinating life full of highs and lows. She really left her mark on journalism and beyond. What a legacy.
Absolutely. Nellie Bly's story is a testament to her courage, determination, and journalistic prowess. She pushed boundaries, challenged norms, and left an enduring legacy. She's a true inspiration. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating legal analysis, the precarious position of federal employees participating in the government's deferred resignation program. It's a wild ride, folks.
Wild is right. I've been following this. Essentially, the government's offering a buyout, continued pay, benefits, administrative leave, in exchange for resignation by September 30th. But the catch? The legality is, questionable.
Exactly. The program mirrors Elon Musk's controversial Twitter buyout, which, as we know, didn't exactly go smoothly for everyone. Many Twitter employees who accepted didn't receive their promised severance. That's a huge red flag for these federal workers.
So if the government reneges, what recourse do these employees have? It seems like a straightforward breach of contract, right?
Not so fast. It's not a simple contract case. Federal agencies can't legally commit to future salary payments without appropriated funds. That's the Anti-Deficiency Act, in a nutshell. It's a big deal.
Oh, I see. So the government essentially promised something it can't legally deliver?
Precisely. And even if they did, the Supreme Court's ruling in Office of Personnel Management versus Richmond makes it highly unlikely that a court would force the government to pay based on estoppel. The court emphasized that the government can't be stopped from actions that violate the law, especially when it involves unauthorized spending.
So estoppel, the idea that the government should be held to its word even if it acted illegally, is unlikely to work here? That's a tough pill to swallow for these employees.
Incredibly tough. The article highlights a potential exception for affirmative misconduct, where the government actively misleads employees, but even that's a long shot, especially given the Richmond precedent. The article mentions Beacom versus EEOC, but that case is quite old, and the legal landscape has shifted.
And there's also that release of claims clause in the agreement, right? That essentially waives any future legal action. Wow.
You're right, that's another significant hurdle. It's a pretty comprehensive waiver, essentially tying the hands of employees who might want to sue. The article paints a pretty bleak picture, honestly. The only real hope, it seems, lies with Congress appropriating the necessary funds.
So it all boils down to Congress? That's a scary thought. These employees are essentially gambling on Congress's willingness to bail out the executive branch.
Exactly. It's a high-stakes gamble with potentially devastating consequences for those who accepted the offer. The article even mentions that a funding shortfall could lead to involuntary separations, leaving some employees worse off than if they hadn't participated in the program. It's a mess.
A complete and utter mess. This whole situation underscores the importance of understanding the legal ramifications before accepting such offers, especially when dealing with the federal government. It's a cautionary tale, for sure.
Absolutely. And a reminder that trust me isn't a legal defense. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this discussion insightful. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating rediscovery of Alan Turing's secret Delilah project, a portable voice encryption system from World War II. It's a story of ingenuity, secrecy, and a previously unknown facet of Turing's genius.
Absolutely. $500,000 for a collection of documents? That's incredible. What makes this project so significant? I'm buzzing with anticipation.
Well, it reveals Turing's unexpected expertise in electrical engineering, a side often overshadowed by his contributions to computer science and code breaking. Delilah, named after the biblical temptress, was a revolutionary device. Think of it. A shoebox-sized voice encryption machine, a far cry from the room-sized SIGSALY system used by the Americans.
A shoebox-sized encryption machine? That's mind-blowing. So how did it actually work? Was it based on existing technology?
Absolutely. It cleverly adapted principles from existing teletypewriter-based cipher machines like the German SZ42, which Turing and his team at Bletchley Park had already cracked. Delilah used a similar approach of adding a pseudo-random key to the digitized speech signal. Ingenious, right?
Incredibly so. But how did they handle the synchronization of the key generators between sender and receiver? The article mentions formidable difficulties.
Yeah, that was a major hurdle. The article highlights that they overcame this challenge, ultimately demonstrating Delilah's capabilities by encrypting and decrypting a recording of Winston Churchill's speech, a true testament to their skill.
Wow. So despite its success, the project was abandoned after the war. Why?
The war was ending, and the military's interest waned. Plus, the article suggests that Delilah had limited potential for further development at that time. It was a bit ahead of its time, you know? But its legacy is undeniable. It was the first successful compact portable voice encryption device. A remarkable achievement.
I see. The article also mentions a fascinating lab notebook and lecture notes. What insights do those provide?
The notebook details Turing's meticulous work, from early experiments with multivibrators, crucial components of the key generator, to testing various parts of Delilah. The lecture notes, a treasure trove of 180 pages, reveal Turing's deep understanding of advanced mathematics for electrical engineers. It paints a much fuller picture of his engineering capabilities.
It's amazing how this discovery challenges the traditional view of Turing as purely a mathematician and theoretical computer scientist. He was clearly a hands-on engineer as well. I'm so glad this story came to light.
Exactly. The article beautifully illustrates the breadth of Turing's genius. He wasn't just a theoretical mastermind. He was also a practical innovator, capable of tackling complex engineering challenges. The Delilah project is a testament to that, a truly remarkable story.
It really is. This rediscovery adds a significant layer to our understanding of Turing's contributions and his impact on technology. It's a reminder that even the most brilliant minds often have hidden depths.
Absolutely. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of Alan Turing and his secret Delilah project. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into the surprisingly complex world of 3D filament storage and drying. It's way more than just tossing a spool on a shelf, you know?
Exactly. I've had my share of disastrous prints thanks to moisture-laden filament. So what's the big deal with keeping filament dry?
The big deal is hygroscopicity. Most filaments, like PLA, PETG, and especially nylon, are hygroscopic. They suck up moisture from the air, and that moisture wreaks havoc on your prints. Think stringing, bubbling, brittle layers, the whole shebang.
Stringing? I've definitely experienced that. But I thought PLA was pretty low maintenance?
It is relatively low maintenance, but even PLA can absorb enough moisture to cause problems over time, especially in humid environments. The article emphasizes that even fresh filament might be damp from the manufacturing process. So, drying is often a good idea, even right out of the box.
So how do we actually dry this stuff? I've heard of filament dryers, but are they really necessary?
Dedicated filament dryers are fantastic. They offer precise temperature control. The article recommends one from Creality, capable of handling 2 1-kilogram spools simultaneously. But, there are DIY options too.
DIY, like using my kitchen oven?
Oh, honey, please don't use your kitchen oven. The article strongly discourages that. The risk of melting filament, releasing toxic fumes into your food prep area, it's a recipe for disaster. Seriously, don't do it.
Okay, I get it. So what are the safer DIY options?
A modified food dehydrator is a much better choice. You can find tons of guides online for adapting one. Or, for a passive approach, you can use airtight containers with desiccant packs. That's slower, but it works.
Desiccants? What are those?
Those are little packets of silica gel. The tiny beads you often find in shoeboxes. They absorb moisture. The article even suggests using your filament dryer to periodically dry out the desiccant itself, keeping it effective.
Interesting. So once the filament is dry, how do we keep it that way?
Airtight storage is key. Vacuum-sealed bags are a great option, especially with an extra desiccant pack inside. Or, you can use airtight containers with desiccant. The goal is to maintain a relative humidity, RH, of 5 to 15% around the filament.
This is way more involved than I thought. But it makes sense. Thanks for breaking it down.
Absolutely. Remember, proper filament storage and drying are crucial for high-quality prints. It's an investment in your time and materials. And hey, avoiding those frustrating print failures is a reward in itself. Thanks for tuning in to Tech Bytes and News. Have a great day, and happy printing.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a hot topic, the surprise addition of Starlink connectivity to iOS 18.3, and the burning question, can you opt out?
Right. It's a pretty big deal, isn't it? Suddenly, iPhones are getting satellite connectivity, seemingly out of the blue. The article mentions a lot of speculation, though. What's the core issue here?
Exactly. The core issue is user choice. Apple integrated Starlink into iOS 18.3, but currently, it seems there's no official opt-out option. It's limited to T-Mobile beta testers for now, mostly for text messaging via satellite. But the potential for future voice and data capabilities is huge, and that's where the concern lies for some users.
So it's a wait-and-see situation? The article suggests that because it's a beta program, things could change, right? But the lack of an opt-out is a significant point. In seconds. It's not just about the beta. It's about potential future implications.
Precisely. The article highlights the uncertainty. While the feature is in beta with T-Mobile, the lack of an opt-out suggests a potential future where this becomes a standard feature. And that's where the debate begins. It's a bit unsettling, you know? A major feature added without explicit user consent.
Yeah, I see. It's interesting that they mention Apple's existing relationship with Globalstar for emergency SOS. That's a different service though, right? Globalstar is primarily for emergencies, while Starlink is positioned for broader use.
Absolutely. The article points out the key difference. Starlink is designed for right-from-your-pocket connectivity, unlike Globalstar's emergency-focused approach. And Apple's significant investment in Globalstar just last year adds another layer of complexity to this situation. It makes you wonder about their long-term strategy.
It does. It's almost like they're testing the waters with Starlink, seeing how users react before making it a fully integrated, non-optional feature. The article even mentions the possibility of users choosing between satellites in the future, but that's pure speculation at this point.
That's a very insightful point. It's definitely a wait-and-see scenario. The article emphasizes that this is a developing story, and we'll have to wait for more information before we can fully understand the implications of this integration. But the lack of an opt-out now is definitely a red flag for some users.
Totally. It raises questions about data privacy, potential costs, and the overall user experience. Will it drain battery life excessively? Will it impact signal strength in areas with existing cellular coverage? These are all valid concerns.
You're right, those are all important considerations. And the article does a good job of highlighting the uncertainty surrounding this new development. We'll keep our eyes peeled for updates and let our listeners know as soon as we have more information.
Definitely. Thanks for breaking this down for us. It's a complex situation, and it's good to have a clear explanation of what we know so far.
My pleasure. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to Tech Bytes and News. We'll keep you updated on this developing story. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into Polaris, a self-hosted music streaming server. It's really exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely. A self-hosted music streamer? That sounds amazing. What makes Polaris stand out from the crowd?
Well, It boasts exceptional performance, even with massive music libraries. We're talking 100,000 plus songs. Plus, it's incredibly easy to set up and maintain, and the UI is gorgeous.
Wow, that's impressive. So it's not just about the size of the library it can handle, but also the user experience?
Exactly. They've clearly prioritized both. It supports a wide range of audio formats, FLAC, MP3, MP4, you name it. Hey. And it has features like dark mode, customizable color palettes, waveform visualizations. The works.
I see. And what about cross-platform compatibility? Can I access my music from anywhere?
Absolutely. It runs on Windows, Linux, BSD, or even through Docker. There are also dedicated mobile apps for Android and iOS, although the iOS app is a third-party project called Polarios.
That's a great point about the third-party iOS app. Does that mean there's less official support for iOS users?
That's a valid concern. While the official focus seems to be on Android and the server side, the existence of Polarios shows the community's engagement and willingness to fill the gap. It's a testament to Polaris's open-source nature.
Right, so how easy is it to actually get started? Is the installation process complicated?
Not at all. They have excellent documentation, including a dedicated setup guide. Plus, there's a demo server you can try out to get a feel for the interface and features.
That's handy. A demo server is a great way to showcase the application. What about the licensing? Is it free to use?
Yes. Polaris is completely free and open source, under the MIT license. No premium versions, no hidden costs. It's all about community contribution and collaborative development.
Fantastic. This sounds like a really compelling alternative to other music streaming services. The combination of ease of use, extensive features, and open-source nature is a winning formula.
Absolutely. It's a project that clearly demonstrates a commitment to both performance and user experience. And the active community and regular releases show that it's a project with a bright future. So if you're looking for a powerful, flexible, and beautiful music streaming solution, definitely check out Polaris.
Definitely worth exploring. Thanks for highlighting this really interesting project.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into Daniel Delaney's compelling argument against using chat interfaces for development tools. He makes a really strong case, don't you think?
Absolutely. The core of his argument is that the current wave of AI coding tools, while flashy, are fundamentally flawed because they rely on a chat interface. He argues that this approach is fundamentally unsuitable for building robust software. It's a bold claim, but he backs it up pretty well.
Exactly. He points out that while higher-level languages and visual interfaces have made programming more human-friendly, they still require precision, something computers demand. I promise to revolutionize this with plain English programming, but the reality is, well, a bit of a letdown, so far.
Yeah, the great for prototyping label is a polite way of saying, don't use this for anything serious. He's not dismissing AI altogether, though. Spods. He acknowledges that better AI models will improve the accuracy of code generation, but the core issue remains. You need precision, not guesses, when building real software. It's not about the AI's intelligence, it's about the UI.
Precisely. He uses a brilliant analogy. Writing software isn't like having a casual conversation. It's like writing laws. You're defining terms, establishing rules, and managing complex interactions. Imagine trying to write a tax code in a chat. It's simply not feasible.
That's a powerful analogy. The chat interface, with its ephemeral nature and lack of structure, is simply inadequate for managing the complexity inherent in software development. Documents, on the other hand, allow for organization, referencing, and systematic change tracking. Chat reduces you to relying on memory and hoping for the best. A recipe for disaster.
I see his point. He argues that every successful programming tool has emphasized precision. I momentarily tricked us into thinking we could just chat our way to working software, but that's a false promise. The solution, he suggests, is to shift the focus from chat to documents.
With a document-based approach, English can truly become a programming language. You can see the whole system, clarify intent, track changes, collaborate effectively, and use requirements as quality checks. It's a much more structured and manageable process. A paradigm shift, really.
I agree. It's a game changer. He predicts that the first company to build AI development tools around this document-centric approach will dominate the next phase of AI development. They'll be building tools for real software, not just toys. It's a fascinating vision.
It certainly is. It's a call for a more thoughtful, more structured approach to AI-assisted software development. It's not about abandoning AI, but about using it in a way that leverages its strengths while mitigating its weaknesses. It's about building tools that empower developers, not just impress them with flashy demos.
Exactly. And that's a wrap for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you found this discussion insightful. Remember to subscribe and join us next time for more exciting tech news. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating report from Consumer Reports, highlighting a significant knowledge gap among American consumers regarding the lifespan and support of IoT devices. It's a real eye-opener.
Absolutely. I saw the headline and was immediately intrigued. So what's the core issue Consumer Reports uncovered? Is it simply that people don't understand software updates?
It's more nuanced than that, While a lack of understanding about software updates is a major factor, the report reveals a broader problem. A shocking 43% of people with connected devices weren't aware they might lose software support at some point when they bought them. That's a huge number.
Wow. That's alarming. So what are the consequences of this lack of awareness? Are we talking just inconvenience, or are there more serious implications?
Oh, there are serious implications. Devices get bricked, rendered completely useless when support ends. This means wasted money, potential security vulnerabilities, and the loss of key features. The report even mentions that many people only realize their device has lost support when it simply stops working. That's terrifying.
I see. And it's not just about security breaches, right? The functionality of the device itself is also at risk?
Exactly. Think about smart TVs losing access to streaming apps, smart speakers losing their voice assistants, or smartphones losing third-party app support. The report highlights that many consumers believe their devices would still be useful even after support ends. But that's often not the case. It's a misconception with significant consequences.
So what's the solution? Should manufacturers be legally obligated to disclose how long they'll support their devices?
That's a big question, and Consumer Reports, along with other advocacy groups, is pushing for exactly that. They've even petitioned the FTC for guidance on this. A significant 72% of respondents in the survey believe manufacturers should be required to disclose support durations. It seems like common sense, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. But don't manufacturers have a valid argument here? I mean, tech changes so rapidly. How can they possibly predict support lifespans accurately?
That's a valid counterpoint. The fluctuating nature of the market and the rapid pace of technological advancement certainly pose challenges. However, the current situation leaves consumers vulnerable and in the dark. A minimum disclosure requirement, even a range, would be a huge step forward in protecting consumers. Transparency is key.
Agreed. It's about managing expectations and empowering consumers to make informed decisions. This isn't just about the immediate cost of the device. It's about the long-term value and usability. It's about responsible manufacturing.
Precisely. The FTC has already warned IoT firms that failing to disclose support durations could violate existing laws. While the immediate future is uncertain, the pressure is mounting for change. The FCC's new Cyber Trust Mark program is a step in the right direction, but it's a voluntary program, and labels won't appear on products until 2026. We need more immediate action.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? What should they do?
Be informed. Before purchasing any IoT device, research the manufacturer's support policies. Look for information on software update frequency and the expected lifespan of support. Don't assume a device will last forever, and understand that the useful lifespan might be much shorter than you expect. Do your research.
Excellent advice. And remember, folks, software updates aren't just about new features. They're crucial for security and continued functionality. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And remember to stay informed and stay safe in the ever-evolving world of IoT. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating story of how Spotify, unintentionally or not, impacted the lo-fi hip-hop scene. It's a tale of organic growth, corporate intervention, and the resilience of independent artists. Ready to get started?
Absolutely. I've been hearing whispers about this. What's the core issue here? Is Spotify actively trying to kill lo-fi hip-hop?
Well, not exactly kill, but more like a subtle yet impactful shift. Lo-fi hip-hop exploded organically, right? It started in the mid-2010s, fueled by bedroom producers and a sound that was both accessible and relaxing. Think Samurai Champloo. That anime really helped popularize the instrumental hip-hop style that lo-fi is based on. It offered a refreshing contrast to the polished pop and EDM of the time.
I see. So it was a perfect storm, the right sound at the right time. But what changed?
Exactly. The popularity led to massive growth on platforms like YouTube and Spotify. But then, the corporate interests swooped in. Liz Pelly's article, The Ghosts in the Machine, really sheds light on this. Spotify, in an effort to boost profits, started flooding playlists with royalty-free music and AI-generated tracks. This diluted the royalty pool and, essentially, displaced real artists.
Wow, that's a pretty cynical move. So they essentially replaced organic, human-created music with cheaper alternatives? That's a blow to independent artists.
Precisely. And lo-fi, being a passively consumed genre, was a prime target. Look at those massive playlists. A huge percentage of the artists are now ghost artists, with generic artwork and forgettable songs. It's like a corporate takeover of a once vibrant community.
It's infuriating. So what's the future of lo-fi hip-hop? Is it doomed?
Not at all. The article highlights artists like Wish on the Beat, who's adapted brilliantly. She's moved into ambient music, showcasing her instrumental skills and creating a new sound. It proves that real musicians, with their unique talents and creativity, can still thrive. It's a testament to human ingenuity.
That's encouraging. So what can listeners do to help support real artists in this climate?
It's crucial to be more active in our listening habits. We need to actively seek out and support independent artists, creating our own playlists, following artists' official discography playlists. These small actions can make a big difference. The article even provides some examples of artist-created playlists to get us started. It's about taking control of our listening experience and consciously supporting the creators we value.
That's a great point. It's not just about passive consumption anymore. It's about active participation in supporting the artists we love. It's a call to action, really.
Exactly. It's a reminder that the music industry, even in the age of streaming, still needs our active support to thrive. We need to be mindful consumers and actively cultivate a more beautiful garden of music, one playlist at a time. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. Until next time, keep listening, keep supporting, and keep the music alive.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating study, Earth Detecting Earth, exploring how detectable our planet's technosignatures are from afar. It's a really cool perspective shift. You know?
Right. I'm particularly excited about this. It flips the script on the usual SETI search, doesn't it? Instead of looking for them, we're looking at us from a hypothetical alien perspective.
Exactly. The SETI Institute team, led by Dr. Sophia Sheikh, used modeling to figure out how far away different technosignatures, things like radio waves, atmospheric pollutants, and even city lights, could be detected with current technology. Pretty mind-blowing stuff.
So what were the most surprising findings? What were the most detectable signals?
Well, radio signals, especially from things like the old Arecibo Observatory radar, are surprisingly powerful. They could potentially be detected up to 12,000 light-years away. That's a huge distance.
Wow, 12,000 light-years. That's incredible. I always thought atmospheric signatures would be more prominent.
They are becoming more detectable, thanks to advancements in telescopes like the James Webb and the upcoming Habitable Worlds Observatory, HWO. But even with HWO, we're talking about a much shorter range, around 5.7 light-years, just beyond Proxima Centauri.
Interesting. So distance really plays a key role here. The closer you get, the more signatures you'd pick up. City lights, heat islands, satellites, the whole shebang.
Precisely. It's a multi-wavelength picture. The study emphasizes that this isn't just about one type of signal. It's about the combined effect of all these technosignatures. It paints a really comprehensive picture of our technological footprint.
I see. And what about the implications for future SETI searches? Does this change how we approach the search for extraterrestrial intelligence?
Absolutely. The study highlights the importance of considering a wide range of technosignatures, not just focusing on one type. It also emphasizes the need for more powerful telescopes and better detection methods. It's a call to action, really.
It's also a fascinating way to think about our own impact on the planet, isn't it? Seeing ourselves as a potential technosignature for another civilization to detect. It makes you think about our environmental impact on a cosmic scale.
You're right. Dr. Sheikh herself mentioned using SETI as a cosmic mirror, reflecting on how our planet's pollution might appear to an extraterrestrial observer. It's a powerful thought experiment.
It really is. This study provides a valuable framework for future research, helping us refine our search strategies and better understand the detectability of extraterrestrial technologies. It's a significant contribution to the field.
Absolutely. And remember, this is just a snapshot in time. As technology advances and our impact on Earth changes, this study will need to be revisited and refined. It's an ongoing process of discovery. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the exciting world of SETI and the search for extraterrestrial life. Goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating critique of Balaji Srinivasan's The Network State, a book proposing a new form of governance based on blockchain technology. It's a bold vision, but the authors here, Siddharth, Whale, and Slaughter, offer a compelling counterargument.
Right, and it's not just a simple disagreement. They're challenging the very foundational assumptions of Srinivasan's approach. He envisions these network states as essentially online communities that gain territorial control and diplomatic recognition, right? Almost like a startup country.
Exactly. He paints a picture of these highly aligned communities, each governed by a single, unifying principle, what they call a one commandment. Think keto kosher or bio-freedom as examples. Pretty niche, huh?
Incredibly niche. And that's where the critique gets interesting. The authors argue that this focus on homogeneity and enforced morality is fundamentally flawed. They point out that real-world problems require complex solutions, not simplistic unifying principles.
Yeah, they argue that Srinivasan's vision is backwards-looking, more akin to a feudal system than a futuristic utopia. He emphasizes exit as a solution. If you don't like the rules, you leave. But that ignores the need for collective action and shared sacrifice for the common good. It's a bit of a simplistic view of human interaction, you know?
I see. And they also challenge his reliance on blockchains as a panacea. While acknowledging the potential of blockchain technology, they emphasize that it's not a magic bullet for all societal ills. The authors highlight the potential for abuse of power within these network states, even with blockchain's transparency. The founder-ruler could theoretically seize assets at will.
Precisely. The asymmetry of exit is a key point. You have the right to leave an existing nation-state, but within a network state, your assets could be controlled by the ruler. It's a power imbalance that's not really addressed. It's a bit unsettling, to say the least.
Absolutely. And the authors propose an alternative, a network society that embraces complexity and diversity. They advocate for empowering local communities to solve their own problems, while simultaneously coordinating globally on larger issues like climate change. It's a more nuanced, collaborative approach.
It's a much more realistic and, dare I say, hopeful vision. They highlight the potential of technologies like AI and improved governance mechanisms to foster greater participation and accountability. It's about building, not just exiting.
They also make a compelling point about the nature of networks themselves. Srinivasan views networks as tools for creating a new order, but the authors argue that networks are a way of understanding the world, a way of seeing the interconnectedness of things. It's a fundamental difference in perspective.
Right. It's about understanding the complex interplay of social, economic, and political systems, not simplifying them into a single, easily controlled entity. It's a much more holistic approach. So, in conclusion, while Srinivasan's network state is a thought-provoking concept, the authors present a strong case for a more inclusive and collaborative approach to leveraging networks for societal improvement. A network society, not a network state.
Exactly. A much more realistic and ultimately more promising path forward. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into a fascinating piece from Quality Digest, exploring the intersection of Poka-yoke and cybernetics in design. It's a really insightful look at how users interact with devices and how designers can better anticipate those interactions. Exciting stuff!
I'm eager to hear this. The title itself is intriguing. How does this article connect these seemingly disparate fields?
Right, so the core argument revolves around Ross Ashby's law of requisite variety. It basically states that a systems regulator needs sufficient variety to handle any unexpected inputs or perturbations. Think of a traffic light. It has a limited number of states: red, yellow, green. If something unexpected happens, like a power outage, it lacks the variety to handle it effectively.
So how does this relate to Poka-yoke and user interaction? Is it about designing systems with enough flexibility to account for user error?
Exactly. The author introduces two hypotheses. First, the user purpose hypothesis argues that the user ultimately defines a device's purpose, exceeding the designer's intended use. Think of a screwdriver used as a lever. The user's variety surpasses the device's inherent functionality. Second, the counteraction hypothesis suggests users seek simplicity in complex situations and complexity in simple ones.
That's a really interesting counterintuitive point. So, a simple device might inspire creative, complex uses, while a complex device might lead users to find simpler ways to achieve their goals. Makes sense?
Precisely. The article then delves into the cybernetic dance between designer and user, emphasizing the importance of interface design. The designer needs to amplify desirable user interactions while attenuating undesirable ones. A successful Poka-yoke design, therefore, embodies requisite variety, ensuring consistent messaging and user success. It's all about minimizing entropy in the interaction.
I see. So the design should guide the user towards the intended use, making it the most intuitive and attractive option. But isn't that a bit idealistic? Surely, perfect design is impossible, right?
You're right to challenge that. The author acknowledges that adding variety costs money. The example of the USB connector is perfect. Its unidirectional design, while frustrating, was a cost-saving measure. A perfectly reversible USB would have doubled the cost.
That's a pragmatic point. It highlights the trade-off between ideal design and economic constraints. So it's about finding the optimal balance between user experience and cost-effectiveness.
Absolutely. The article also stresses the importance of instantaneous feedback. Errors should be immediately apparent to the user, minimizing cognitive load and confusion. The design should seamlessly integrate with the user's mental model of the task. It's all about efficient and intuitive interaction.
It's a holistic approach, considering user behavior, design constraints, and the principles of cybernetics. This article really bridges the gap between theoretical concepts and practical design considerations. Very insightful.
Indeed. The author concludes by emphasizing that artifacts don't inherently carry meaning. Rather, users assign meaning based on their interaction. The designer's role is to create affordances that facilitate meaningful user engagement. A truly user-centric approach. And that's a wrap for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of Poka-yoke and cybernetics. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating paper on improving large language model reasoning, Deep RAG. It tackles a big problem, those pesky factual hallucinations LLMs are prone to.
Right. Factual hallucinations are a huge issue. So how does Deep RAG aim to solve this? Is it just another retrieval augmented generation, RAG, approach, or is there something more innovative?
It's more than just another RAG approach. Deep RAG models the whole retrieval augmented reasoning process as a Markov decision process, or MDP. That's a pretty clever move, allowing for strategic and adaptive retrieval. Think of it like a game, where the LLM makes decisions step by step, deciding whether to retrieve more information or rely on its existing knowledge.
An MDP framework? That's interesting. So instead of just blindly retrieving everything, it intelligently decides what's needed at each step. How does it determine that?
Exactly. It iteratively decomposes the queries, dynamically choosing between retrieving external knowledge or using its internal reasoning. This avoids redundant retrieval, which is a common problem in RAG systems that can lead to noise and inaccurate answers. It's all about efficiency and precision.
So it's like a more thoughtful, less wasteful version of RAG. But how does this translate to actual improvements? The paper mentions some impressive results, right?
Yeah, the results are pretty compelling. They found that Deep RAG significantly improves retrieval efficiency while boosting answer accuracy by a whopping 21.99%. That's a substantial leap forward in addressing the limitations of current LLMs. It really shows the power of this strategic approach.
21.99% is a significant improvement. That's a game changer, especially considering the challenges in combining reasoning and retrieval. But I'm curious, what are the potential limitations or future directions for Deep RAG? Is it a perfect solution?
Well, no system is perfect, right? While Deep RAG shows great promise, future work could explore more sophisticated MDP models, perhaps incorporating more nuanced reward functions, or exploring different ways to decompose queries. Also, the scalability to extremely large knowledge bases is something to consider. But overall, it's a very promising step.
I see. So it's a significant advancement, but there's still room for improvement and further research. It's exciting to see this kind of innovative work pushing the boundaries of LLM capabilities. The strategic, step-by-step approach is really key here.
Absolutely. Deep RAG's approach of treating retrieval-augmented reasoning as an MDP is a significant contribution. It elegantly addresses the challenges of both efficiency and accuracy in a way that previous methods haven't. It's a really exciting development in the field of LLMs. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Deep RAG. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into Google's controversial decision to drop its pledge against using AI for weapons and surveillance. A pretty big shift, wouldn't you say? It's a seismic shift.
Absolutely. It's a huge story. I mean, Google was once seen as a leader in ethical AI development. This move completely changes that perception, doesn't it? What's the reasoning behind this change?
Well, Google's executives, Hassabis and Manika, frame it as a response to the intensifying global competition for AI leadership. They argue that democracies need to lead in AI development, and that includes serving government and national security clients. They're essentially saying that to compete, they need to play ball with the military-industrial complex.
So, it's a strategic decision driven by geopolitical considerations? That's a pretty bold claim. But doesn't this directly contradict their previous stance and the very principles they established in 2018?
Exactly. They've removed the clause explicitly stating they wouldn't pursue weapons or surveillance applications. Remember Project Maven? The employee protests? This feels like a complete 180. It's a stark contrast to their previous commitment.
Yeah, and it's not just the internal contradictions. This puts Google in line with other tech giants like Microsoft and Amazon, who've long had military contracts. It's almost like they're following the herd. What about the ethical implications? This seems to open the door to some pretty serious concerns.
Absolutely. Critics like Professor Irani point out that Google's claims to respect international law and human rights have been routinely broken by the U.S. state. She argues that this is just another empty promise. The fact that this change comes after significant donations to the Trump inauguration and amidst growing U.S.-China tensions is also highly relevant.
Right, the timing is suspicious, to say the least. It's hard not to see this as a move towards aligning with a specific political agenda, rather than a purely ethical or technological one. It's a cynical move. What about the reaction from Google employees? Are there any internal protests this time?
The article mentions ongoing protests regarding a cloud computing contract with Israel, raising concerns about potential harm to Palestinians. It's a similar situation to Project Maven, but the scale might be different. It seems the internal dissent hasn't completely disappeared, but it's not as publicly visible as the Project Maven protests were.
So it's a complex situation with many layers. Geopolitical competition, ethical concerns, internal dissent, and a shift towards aligning with a particular political ideology. It's a fascinating and troubling development. This really changes the landscape of the AI ethics debate, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Google's decision is a significant turning point, highlighting the increasing entanglement of AI technology with national security and geopolitical strategies. It raises serious questions about the future of ethical AI development and the role of tech companies in shaping global power dynamics. It's a wake-up call for sure. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We'll keep you updated on this developing story. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating GitHub repository detailing how to manage AWS multi-account architectures using Terraform workspaces. It's all about streamlining infrastructure management across multiple AWS accounts. A real game changer for large organizations, right?
Absolutely. The multi-account approach is crucial for security and compliance, but managing it can be a nightmare. This sounds like a clever solution. So, how does this Terraform workspace approach work its magic?
The core idea is elegantly simple. One Terraform workspace per AWS account. The repo uses OpenTofu, an open-source alternative to Terraform, but the concepts are directly transferable. They cleverly leverage Terraform's workspace feature to isolate configurations for each account, avoiding conflicts and simplifying management. It's all about that workspace-to-account mapping.
I see. So you're saying instead of one massive Terraform configuration for all accounts, you have separate, manageable workspaces? That's a huge improvement in terms of organization and maintainability.
Precisely. And the setup is surprisingly straightforward. They use LocalStack, a local AWS cloud stack, for testing. This lets you simulate multiple accounts locally before deploying to your actual AWS environment. Think of it as a sandbox for your multi-account infrastructure.
That's smart. Testing locally is always a good idea before hitting production. How do they handle the AWS credentials and configurations for these different accounts within LocalStack?
They configure separate profiles in the standard AWS config and credentials files. One profile per LocalStack instance, mimicking different AWS accounts. Clever, huh? They even disable authentication validation in the Terraform code for local testing purposes, emphasizing that this is a proof of concept, not a production-ready security solution.
Right, security is a separate concern. But the core concept of workspace-based account management is really neat. How do they dynamically link the Terraform workspace to the correct AWS profile?
That's where the magic happens. They use the Terraform.workspace variable within the Terraform configuration to dynamically select the AWS profile. So, when you switch workspaces, you automatically switch AWS accounts. They also use variable files, TFVARS, named after the workspaces, to customize settings for each environment. It's a very elegant solution.
So you select the workspace, and Terraform automatically uses the corresponding AWS profile and variable file. That's incredibly efficient. What about resource definitions? How do they handle those across different workspaces?
They define resources in separate .tf files, and the Terraform.workspace variable ensures that the correct resources are provisioned for the selected workspace/account. For example, they have a vpc.tf file that creates a VPC, and the nvname and nvprefix variables from the workspace-specific TFVARS files are used to tag the VPC appropriately. It's all about that dynamic variable substitution.
This is a really well-structured approach. It's modular, scalable, and addresses a common challenge in managing multi-account AWS infrastructures. It seems like a great starting point for anyone tackling this problem.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic example of leveraging Terraform's features for efficient infrastructure management. Remember though, this is a simplified example. A production-ready solution would need to address security, state management, and more robust error handling. But as a conceptual foundation, it's brilliant. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this discussion insightful. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into the exciting world of the Dialog APL Challenge. It's a programming competition, but don't worry, you don't need prior programming experience. It's all about learning.
That sounds intriguing. So what exactly is the APL Challenge all about? Is it just for seasoned programmers?
Not at all. The beauty of this challenge is its accessibility. They teach you everything you need to know right there in the problem descriptions. It's a fantastic way to learn APL, a unique and powerful programming language.
APL? I've never heard of it. What makes it so special?
Well, it's known for its concise syntax and array-oriented operations. Think of it as a very powerful, efficient way to manipulate data. The challenge uses simple problems to introduce you to its core concepts. There are 10 problems per round, and each round lasts for 3 months.
10 problems? That sounds manageable. What's the reward?
3 $100 United States dollars prizes are awarded per round. You don't have to solve all 10 problems to win, but your chances increase the more you solve. And even if you don't win, you'll learn a valuable new skill.
That's a great incentive. So how does the challenge work? Do you need to register?
Yes, registration is required to submit your answers, although you can try out the problems without registering. Your browser might even store your progress until you register, but you definitely need to register to submit and be eligible for the prizes.
I see. And what if I'm not ready for this round?
No problem. You can still register to receive updates about future rounds. They'll keep you informed about upcoming challenges. Plus, you can always unsubscribe from their emails if you change your mind.
That's very considerate. So it's a low-pressure, high-reward learning experience. Sounds perfect for someone looking to expand their programming horizons. What about the problems themselves? Are they all math-based?
Not necessarily. While some problems might involve mathematical concepts, they're designed to be accessible even without a strong math background. They focus on teaching the fundamentals of APL, and the problems are designed to build upon each other. The first problem is simply 1, 2, 3, which is a great introduction to the syntax.
So it's a gradual learning curve. That's smart. What if I get stuck?
They have a FAQ section, and you can always email them directly with questions. They seem very responsive. It's a very supportive community.
This sounds really well organized and user-friendly. I'm definitely intrigued. Thanks for sharing this.
You're welcome. I hope this piqued your interest in the Dialog APL Challenge. Remember, the deadline for the current round is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025, at 9 o'clock Coordinated Universal Time. Good luck and happy coding. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of push notifications for decentralized services. It's a surprisingly complex topic, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you'd think push notifications would be straightforward, but the way they interact with decentralized architectures is, well, it's a bit of a mess. Then 4. Let's start with the problem. Why are current methods so centralized?
Right. The core issue is that most Android developers rely on Firebase Cloud Messaging, FCM, Google's solution. It's convenient, but it introduces a single point of failure and a significant dependency on Google's infrastructure. You need to create a project in the Firebase console, download a JSON file with your project information, and, crucially, you're strongly encouraged to enable Google Analytics.
That's a big privacy concern, right? And what about the security implications of managing those sensitive API keys?
Exactly. Those keys are highly sensitive, and mismanaging them can have serious consequences. The article highlights that while there might be ways to use public keys, it's tricky to set up correctly. So many developers opt for the simpler, albeit less secure, approach.
So how do decentralized services typically handle this? I've heard of gateways.
Yes, gateways are a common workaround. Essentially, decentralized services create a centralized gateway that acts as a translator between their servers and FCM. This means that even though the core service is decentralized, the push notification system still relies on a central point. Examples include Signal for Matrix web push-fcm relay for Mastodon, and Nextcloud's push proxy.
So it's a bit ironic, isn't it? They're trying to solve the centralization problem by introducing another layer of centralization. That's not ideal.
Precisely. And it doesn't solve the problem of users without Google services or internet access. The article suggests alternatives like periodically fetching updates or maintaining a constant connection, but those have their own drawbacks in terms of battery life and data usage.
I see. What about unified push? Is that a better solution?
Unified push is a promising approach because it uses the web push protocol, which is decentralized by design. It uses VAPID for authorization, based on asymmetric encryption, which is much more secure. However, the article acknowledges that widespread adoption is a challenge, as many users rely on Google services.
So what's the exciting new development mentioned in the article?
The article reveals that you can actually send web push requests directly to FCM servers. This bypasses the need for gateways, and the embedded FCM distributor library makes it easier to integrate unified push with FCM. This is a significant step towards decentralization.
That's really interesting. So essentially, we can leverage the existing infrastructure of FCM while maintaining the security and decentralization benefits of web push?
Exactly. It's a clever workaround that allows for a more decentralized approach without forcing a complete migration away from FCM. The article also mentions progress on web push support in other platforms like Mastodon and JMap, which is very encouraging.
This is a really insightful article. It highlights the complexities of balancing convenience with decentralization and security. Thanks for breaking it down for us.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into Jujutsu, a Rust-based version control system that's making waves. It's a fascinating alternative to Git, offering a fresh perspective on managing code changes. Exciting stuff!
I've heard whispers about it, but I'm a creature of habit with Git. What makes Jujutsu so special? Is it just a Git front end, or is there something fundamentally different?
It's more than just a front end, although you can use it with your existing Git repos. The core difference lies in its approach to changes. In Git, you have commits, which are immutable snapshots. In Jujutsu, you have changes, which are mutable. Think of it like this. In Git, you commit, and that's it. In Jujutsu, you can modify a change before it's finalized.
Mutable changes? That sounds risky. How does it handle conflicts then? Git's conflict resolution can be a real headache.
That's the beauty of it. Jujutsu handles conflicts as a first-class citizen. A change can be conflicted, but that doesn't halt your workflow. You can still work on other changes, edit the conflicted one, or create new changes on top of it. The system doesn't block you. It just flags the conflict for your attention. It's incredibly elegant.
So no more being stuck in a Git rebase hell? That's a huge selling point. What about the workflow itself? How does it compare to Git's branching model?
Jujutsu uses bookmarks instead of branches. Bookmarks don't automatically move when you add new changes. You have to set them manually. This gives you more control, especially when working with stacked pull requests. Imagine having multiple PRs, each building on the previous one. In Git, rebasing becomes a nightmare. In Jujutsu, you can edit a change in any PR, and everything automatically rebases itself. It's magical.
That sounds incredibly efficient. But what about the learning curve? Is it steep for someone already comfortable with Git?
Surprisingly, no. The core concepts are different, but the overall workflow is intuitive once you grasp the mutable change concept. The JJ undo command alone is worth the switch. It's like having a time machine for your commits. Plus, the JJ log command gives you a really clear and concise view of your changes. It's just so much cleaner.
You mentioned stacked PRs. Could you elaborate on how Jujutsu simplifies that process?
Absolutely. With stacked PRs in Git, fixing a mistake in an earlier PR requires manual rebasing of all subsequent PRs. In Jujutsu, you simply edit the problematic change, and the system automatically rebases everything. It's a game changer for collaborative workflows. You can even use JJ Git push bglob multipart to push all related bookmarks at once.
That's impressive. Are there any other compelling features you'd like to highlight?
Oh, definitely. The RevSet expression language is incredibly powerful. It allows you to manipulate and query your changes in very sophisticated ways. And the JJ-new command, with its A and B flags for squishing changes before or after others, is incredibly useful for managing your changes efficiently. It's all very well integrated and consistent. It's a joy to use.
It sounds like Jujutsu offers a compelling alternative to Git, especially for complex workflows. The mutable changes and seamless conflict resolution are particularly attractive. Thanks for the insightful overview.
My pleasure. I highly recommend checking out the resources mentioned in the original article. There are some great tutorials and blog posts that delve even deeper into Jujutsu's capabilities. And remember, even if you don't switch completely, using Jujutsu as a Git frontend can still significantly improve your workflow. Thanks for tuning in to Tech Bytes and News. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating legal battle brewing between Dino and Oracle over the JavaScript trademark. It's a wild ride, folks.
A trademark dispute? Sounds juicy. I've heard whispers about this. What's the core issue here?
Essentially, Oracle holds the trademark for JavaScript, despite having virtually no involvement in its development or maintenance. Deno, the company behind the Deno runtime, is challenging this. It's a David versus Goliath story.
Right, I remember the open letter. Thousands of developers signed it. But what's Oracle's defense? I mean, how can they justify this?
That's the kicker. Oracle's response is underwhelming, to say the least. They essentially said, yeah, we used a Node.js screenshot in our trademark renewal, but it doesn't matter because we also submitted another specimen. They're trying to ignore the blatant misuse of a screenshot from a project they had nothing to do with.
Wow. So they're admitting to using a Node.js screenshot but claiming it's irrelevant? That's audacious. What about the other specimen?
It's a screenshot of Oracle JET, a UI toolkit. But, it's not a standalone JavaScript runtime like Node.js or Deno. It's a far cry from representing the actual use of the JavaScript trademark in the broader sense. It raises serious questions about the legitimacy of their claim.
So they're essentially saying, we used a misleading image, but we also had another image, so it's fine? That's not how legal arguments work, is it? This seems like a clear case of, well, fraud, right?
Exactly. Deno's petition highlights 3 key points. Genericness. JavaScript is a language, not an Oracle product. Abandonment. Oracle doesn't control or maintain it. And fraud. The misleading evidence in their renewal. Oracle's response completely sidesteps the fraud claim, trying to delay the process.
And what's the impact of this delay? What are the implications?
It's a strategic move by Oracle to stall the proceedings. They're hoping to avoid the core argument, whether JavaScript is even a trademarkable term. It's a classic legal tactic, unfortunately. This leaves Delano with a tough choice. Drop the fraud claim or spend months fighting a procedural battle.
It's frustrating to see such blatant disregard for the truth and the open source community. This isn't just about Deno. It's about the principle of open standards and the integrity of the trademark system. What can we do?
Spread awareness. Share this story. Sign the open letter and support Deno in their fight. This isn't just a tech issue. It's a matter of principle. We need to hold corporations accountable for their actions, especially when they try to manipulate the legal system. This whole situation highlights the potential for abuse within the trademark system. It's a wake-up call, really.
Absolutely. It's a crucial battle for the future of open source software and the integrity of the trademark system. Thanks for breaking this down for us. This is a story we'll definitely be following.
You're welcome. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to stay informed and engaged. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into Radiant Foam, Real-Time Differentiable Ray Tracing, a fascinating paper that's shaking up the world of real-time rendering. It's all about achieving incredibly fast, differentiable ray tracing, something usually considered computationally expensive.
Yeah, I've been following this. The abstract mentions splatting methods, which are faster but sacrifice some accuracy in light transport, right?
Exactly. Splatting uses rasterization, which is super fast thanks to hardware acceleration, but it struggles with reflections and refractions. Radiant Foam cleverly sidesteps this limitation.
How does it do that? Is it some kind of magical new hardware?
Nope. No magic hardware. The brilliance lies in its use of Voronoi diagrams and Delaunay triangulations. Think of it like this. The Voronoi diagram divides space into cells, and the Delaunay triangulation connects those cells, giving us a neat adjacency structure.
Okay, I'm following. So how does this help with ray tracing?
By using this adjacency structure, they can efficiently trace rays through the scene. Instead of complex hierarchical structures, they just iterate through neighboring cells, finding intersections. It's incredibly efficient.
So it's a clever algorithm that avoids the need for expensive acceleration structures, right? That's a huge win for real-time performance.
Precisely. And another key advantage is that the Voronoi diagram's cell boundaries change smoothly as the points move. This makes the whole thing differentiable, which is crucial for optimization. Other methods using meshes directly would have discontinuities.
I see. So it's not just fast, it's also differentiable, allowing for gradient-based optimization. That opens up a whole new world of possibilities for learning-based scene representations, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The paper claims it outperforms hardware-accelerated Gaussian ray tracing while matching the quality of Gaussian splatting. That's a pretty bold claim, but the results seem promising. Though I'd like to see more extensive benchmarks across diverse scenes.
A valid point. More rigorous testing would strengthen their claims. But the core idea, using Voronoi diagrams for efficient, differentiable ray tracing, is undeniably innovative. It's a really elegant solution to a long-standing problem.
Indeed. It's a great example of how revisiting older algorithms with a fresh perspective can lead to significant breakthroughs. And the fact that it doesn't require any special hardware is a huge plus for accessibility.
Definitely. This could have a huge impact on various applications, from real-time rendering in games to more advanced simulations. It's exciting to see this kind of progress in the field.
It certainly is. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you found this discussion insightful. Goodbye, and tune in next time for more exciting tech updates.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating inner workings of a dating app, based on a recent blog post. Get ready for some surprising insights.
I'm all ears. What are some of the biggest surprises this article revealed about the dating app landscape?
Well, first off, the like-to-pass ratio is wildly different for men and women. For men, it's around 5%, while for women, it's a whopping 38%. That's a huge disparity. It's almost like two different games.
Wow, that's a massive difference. So what accounts for that? Is it purely a matter of supply and demand?
Partly, yes. But the article also points out that women's like ratios are almost independent of the profiles they see, suggesting a more selective internal process. Men's, on the other hand, are much more volatile. It's a complex interplay of factors.
Interesting. So what about the like ratio? How many profiles users like? Are there similar discrepancies there?
Absolutely. The median for men is 26%, while for women it's only 4%. This further highlights the different strategies and experiences men and women have on these apps. Men are much more likely to swipe right, while women are far more selective.
So it sounds like the whole experience is skewed. Does this impact how the apps are designed?
Absolutely. The article emphasizes that the feed algorithm is crucial for retention. It's not just about recommending profiles users might like. It's about understanding what each user wants from the app. Personalization is key.
I see. So they tailor the feed to each user's preferences and behavior?
Exactly. For women, the algorithm prioritizes showing a mix of highly ranked profiles and profiles they're likely to like, ensuring they send likes, which is crucial for their retention. For men, it's more about showing new profiles quickly and ensuring they get likes early on.
That's clever. But what about retention itself? What are the key drivers?
For women, it's all about the number of likes they send. For men, it's much less clear. Getting matches and receiving likes helps, but it's not as strong a predictor as it is for women. The article even suggests that user activity on one app is correlated with activity on others, implying a degree of platform hopping.
Fascinating. So what about monetization? How do these apps make money?
The article suggests that monetization is largely focused on men paying for features that increase their visibility and chances of getting likes. It's a pretty straightforward model, and the author argues that it doesn't significantly impact retention, especially for women.
That's interesting. What about the issue of fake profiles and bots?
That's a big one. The author discusses how subtle fake profiles, while difficult to detect, can actually benefit the app by increasing the number of likes men receive. They also discuss various detection techniques, including IP address analysis, device ID tracking, and image similarity searches.
Wow, that's a whole other layer of complexity. What about the onboarding process? What did they learn there?
Surprisingly, they found that users were willing to answer a lot of questions during onboarding. But most of that data is ultimately irrelevant for matching. The only real bottleneck was getting users to upload their profile pictures.
That's counterintuitive. So what's the overall takeaway from this article?
The author argues that dating apps are fundamentally about optimizing for retention, which often leads to replicating the Tinder model. They suggest that a truly innovative dating app might need to prioritize quality over quantity and focus on different metrics than retention. They also highlight the importance of good profile pictures, especially for men.
Very insightful. Thanks for breaking down this complex topic for us. It seems there's a lot more to dating apps than meets the eye.
You're welcome. And that's a wrap for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into building a SQLite database, specifically parsing metadata from the schema table. It's incredibly cool.
Right, I'm really excited about this. So the core idea is to go beyond just listing tables and actually understand their structure, right? We need column names and types, not just table names.
Exactly. The schema table, residing on page 1, holds all this juicy information. We already know how to get the table name and root page. Those are straightforward. But the column details are tucked away in a create table statement within a single field. That's where the fun begins.
Parsing the create table statement. That sounds like a classic parsing problem. What kind of approach are we taking? Lexical analysis?
You bet. We're using a tokenizer to break down the create table statement into individual tokens. We've added new tokens like create, table, and to our token enum. It's all in the tokenizer.rs file. Pretty standard stuff, but crucial.
I see. And then, an abstract syntax tree, AST, I presume, to represent the parsed structure?
Absolutely. We've extended our AST in ace.rs with a create table statement struct. This struct neatly holds the table name and a vector of column def structs, each representing a column with its name and type. It's a very clean representation.
Elegant. So how do you handle the different column types? Are you using a simple string match or something more sophisticated?
It's a straightforward match in the parse_type method within parser.rs. We support integer, real, text-t, string, and BLOB for now. Simple, but effective. We can always expand this later. More types can be added later.
Makes sense. Keep it simple for now. And the parsing of the create table statement itself? How does that work?
The parse create winnable method in parser.rs handles that. It's a recursive descent parser, expecting the tokens in the correct order. It uses the parseColumnDef method to handle each column definition. It's quite elegant, really.
And the semicolon? Is it mandatory?
Good question. The semicolons are optional in the schema table, so we've updated the parse_statement function to handle both cases. That's a nice touch.
Excellent. So once you've parsed the create table statement, how do you integrate that into your database structure?
We've added a table metadata struct to hold the table name, columns, and the first page number. The table metadata from cursor method extracts this information from the schema table's cursor. We also added a collectibles_metadata method to the dflat struct to efficiently gather all this metadata.
So the dflat struct now holds all the metadata. That's a significant improvement. How does this affect the .table command?
The .table command is now much simpler. Instead of manually scanning the schema table, it just iterates through the table's _metadata vector in the dflat struct. Much cleaner and more efficient.
This is a really solid piece of engineering. I'm impressed by the clean separation of concerns and the elegant parsing logic. One thing though, the error handling seems quite basic. Could more robust error handling be implemented? Perhaps using a more sophisticated error reporting system?
You're right, that's a valid point. More robust error handling, perhaps with custom error types and more informative error messages, would definitely improve the code's robustness. That's something to consider for future improvements. Good catch.
Absolutely. But overall, this is a fantastic step towards a fully functional SQLite clone. Looking forward to the next part.
Thanks. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of SQLite metadata parsing. Join us next time for more exciting developments in our journey to build our own SQLite database. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a seriously unsettling security breach, a backdoored Go module that went undetected for over 3 years. It's a chilling example of how supply chain attacks can wreak havoc.
3 years? That's insane. So what exactly happened? Was it a sophisticated attack or just a simple oversight?
It was a sophisticated attack, exploiting a weakness in the Go module mirror, a service run by Google to speed up package downloads. A malicious package, cleverly named to resemble a legitimate one, a technique called typo squatting, was uploaded to GitHub.
Typo squatting. So developers accidentally downloaded the wrong package because of a simple typo?
Exactly. The malicious package, bolt db-go/bolt, was very similar to the legitimate bolt db/bolt. Even worse, the malicious version's reame file was a copy of the legitimate one, making it even harder to spot. And the original package had been archived, making the malicious fork seem more appealing.
Wow, that's incredibly sneaky. So the attacker uploaded the malicious package, and then what?
The Go module mirror, which caches packages for faster downloads, picked up the malicious package. Even after the attacker replaced the malicious version on GitHub with a clean one, the mirror continued serving the backdoored version for 3 years.
That's terrifying. So the cached version on the mirror was the problem. The attacker essentially had a persistent backdoor into countless Go projects. What did the backdoor do?
The backdoor established a connection to a server controlled by the attacker, allowing them to execute arbitrary commands. The attacker cleverly used a server with a good reputation to avoid detection. It was a very targeted attack, designed to blend in.
So it wasn't some random malware, it was a highly targeted attack aimed at Go developers. That's a whole new level of scary. How was it discovered?
Security firm Socket discovered it and reported it to Google. They had to petition twice before Google finally removed the malicious package from the mirror. The whole timeline is quite alarming, highlighting the potential dangers of relying on cached packages without proper verification.
This really underscores the importance of verifying package integrity, doesn't it? It's not enough to just trust the source, you need to actively check what you're downloading.
Absolutely. This incident serves as a stark reminder that even seemingly trustworthy sources can be compromised. We need to be more vigilant and employ robust security practices, including verifying package hashes and using security tools to scan dependencies. It's a wake-up call for the entire Go community and, frankly, for all software developers.
I agree. This is a major security vulnerability that needs to be addressed. The fact that it went unnoticed for so long is deeply concerning. It highlights the need for better security practices and more rigorous auditing of cached packages.
Precisely. And the lack of response from Google and the Go team initially is also troubling. We need more transparency and accountability in these situations. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this discussion insightful and a little bit terrifying. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating story from Daily NK about North Korea's elite IT teams infiltrating global freelance platforms. It's a real nail-biter, folks.
Wow, that sounds intense. Intriguing. So, what's the gist? Are we talking about some kind of sophisticated cyber espionage operation?
It's more nuanced than that. It's not purely espionage, although that's certainly a possibility. Think of it as a state-sponsored, highly skilled freelance workforce generating hard currency for the regime. They're not just any programmers. These are elite teams from Kim Il-sung University's Information Technology Institute.
Kim Il-sung University? That's a pretty prestigious institution, right? So these aren't your average coders. This is a significant investment of human capital on North Korea's part.
Exactly. Precisely. The article highlights that this is a major state policy aimed at boosting both technological prowess and foreign currency reserves. It's a clever way to circumvent sanctions, you know?
I see. So they're using these freelance platforms as a backdoor to earn money, essentially. But how are they managing to keep this operation so secret? I mean, it's a pretty bold move.
That's the really interesting part. The operation is overseen by the Central Committee and the Ministry of State Security. They've implemented rigorous security protocols, including extensive training and background checks. The article even mentions a security breach during the training phase, where a researcher leaked classified information. Yikes!
A security breach? That's a huge risk. It speaks volumes about the stakes involved. What happened after the breach?
Well, after the breach, they tightened security even further. The article emphasizes the extreme secrecy surrounding the operation to avoid international attention. They're clearly aware of the potential consequences of getting caught.
Right. This whole thing is a fascinating blend of high-tech skills and old-school state secrecy. It's a testament to North Korea's adaptability, even under immense pressure. But what kind of projects are these teams working on?
Primarily web development, app creation, and, interestingly, cryptocurrency projects. This last one is particularly noteworthy, given the potential for illicit activities in that space.
Cryptocurrency? That's a smart move, actually. It's difficult to trace transactions, making it ideal for covert operations. This really highlights the sophistication of this operation. It's not just about getting money, it's about doing it discreetly and effectively.
Absolutely. It's a high-stakes game, and North Korea seems to be playing it well, at least for now. The article underscores the strategic importance of this operation to the regime's financial stability. It's a significant development in understanding North Korea's economic strategies.
It certainly is. This story really sheds light on the lengths North Korea will go to in order to maintain its grip on power. It's a chilling reminder of the complexities of the geopolitical landscape.
Indeed. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for another dose of tech news and analysis. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the daily roundup of Tech Bytes and News. See you again tomorrow. Goodbye.